Were people just like waiting on this dude to die so they could buy his Grateful Dead stuff? I don't know. Hi! Whoa, hello. Dude, can you just cooperate for like 1 second of your life? Hello? Hi, my name is Lev, aka Lisker2000, and hyper woke sports content creator the government warned you about. There was a spider that was crawling around on my wall like 2 minutes before I started recording, but I don't squish spiders and stuff like that because they eat the other bugs. And also I just don't squish bugs in general. So if you see like a spider crawling around on my wall, like don't point it out. And I also thought it would be fitting to not squish the spider, not because I would squish a spider ever, but because the subject of today's video is Bill Walton, and he was a pacifist and, you know, a guy who didn't kill spiders, I don't think. Bill Walton was a legendary NBA player who played in the league for 14 years, most notably for the Portland Trail Blazers and the San Diego Clippers. He also was an NCAA legend who played for UCLA. After his time in the league, he went on to become a broadcaster and was most well-known and beloved for his NCAA March Madness coverage. He passed away in 2024 at age 71, and today is May 27th. I think it's a year to the day, actually, since he passed away. We miss you, Bill Walton. Outside of his professional career, he was very well known for left-leaning politics and for his fandom of the Grateful Dead. Last week, my friend Brian tagged me in a tweet talking about how Bill Walton's family and estate is auctioning off like everything he's ever touched, basically. They're auctioning off 2 of his driver's licenses, actually, and a passport and a bunch of old credit cards. Like, it's bonkers, guys. And there is a lot of like Grateful Dead stuff in the mix here, because I know Deadheads are like huge collectors. There are a few things in this auction that I found interesting and that I wanted to talk about today. This whole thing is just fascinating. So I should actually tell you guys where the money is going. Some of the proceeds are going to the orthopedic department at the University of California. This is somewhere that Bill Walton was treated for a lot of his injuries. He also went to UCLA. I think that's pretty cool. Like, obviously he okayed this at some point before he died, probably. Family okayed it. So like, ethically, like, I guess it's fine. It's just so fascinating because some of this stuff is really old. There's stuff from when he was in high school. Like, this is just his personal belongings. There's like a t-shirt from the 2022 finals, I think, that's included in here. There's a lot of like broadcast stuff from pretty recently. It feels just really eerie, but also really interesting, really cool in a way. Like, I don't know how to put it, you know? It's one of those things that's hard to describe, like, emotionally. There are some things in here that I feel like should not be like auctioned off. There's a letter from Bob Cousy. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Listen, okay, I guess my fatal flaw in making videos about basketball is that I don't watch a lot of videos and I don't watch a lot of games with sound on, at least, so I like hardly know how to pronounce anyone's name, and people always correct me, but I read a ton about basketball. So anyway, yeah, there's like a letter from Bob Cousy in here. There's like every award this man has ever won. His 1977 Blazers championship ring is up for auction. I think it's the most expensive thing on there right now. There are a lot of things that are like semi-affordable right now. Like, there's some stuff like, what is this? Yeah, there's a Portland Trail Blazers mesh equipment bag that is currently going for $40 if you're interested. Bill Walton Adidas warm-up shirt, $44. Like, it's so interesting. 1980 Bill Walton San Diego Clippers award going for $33. Like, you guys can hop on this, and it is an auction, so I would recommend like maybe not bidding until the end if you're gonna do any of this. I actually am considering bidding on that driver's license. Bill Walton California State driver's license going for $130 right now. It's crazy. There's like 300 things up for auction here. Is this allowed? Like, are we allowed to auction off people's driver's licenses? Like, how does that work with the government? If it's expired, I guess like whatever, but how is that legal? I don't know, guys. I guess because he's dead, maybe. It has like his signature and stuff. Can you see that? I don't know if you can see that. But that's like crazy. But I guess you can't autograph things anymore. Like, you can't forge that. I don't know. I'm sorry. I think Bill Walton would find this video really entertaining and funny, so I was allowed to make that joke. There's like documents and stuff. One of the really interesting things that my friend Brian was posting about was a lot of like ankle braces from the Portland Trail Blazers when Bill Walton was injured. It just felt weird. It felt icky. You know, having this thing up for somebody to just buy and have in their basement forever. Bill Walton travel-related credit cards. How? Like, I know these credit cards are expired, but like, how is that allowed? Genuinely, how is that like legal? I think that somebody should like rescue some of this stuff and put it in a museum or the Basketball Hall of Fame. You know, stuff like this always gets me on my lost media rant, which my issue, I like lost media as a concept, But the thing is that sometimes things just aren't for you to find. Sometimes things are not lost. You don't need to go finding every piece of everything ever made to just have it and hoard it. And that's kind of how I feel with people who collect stuff like Bill Walton's used ankle braces from like the 1978 season with the Portland Trailblazers. That just doesn't feel right to me. Or like Bill Walton's driver's license. You don't need that in your house. You really don't. But yeah, the two things that this auction got me thinking about were lost media and relics. A lot of stuff isn't lost. It's just not accessible to you, and it's just on, you know, some guy's like VCR from like 1997, right? That doesn't mean it's lost. It just means you don't have it. It's not publicly accessible. Some of like the TV shows and things that people are trying to find, they're not lost. They're just in some archive that isn't accessible to you, and that's okay, right? That's number one. Number two, not everything needs to be found. That's something I think about a lot with lost media. I think a lot of this stuff is just a rush to kind of find something and say you found it. I don't know. I just think it's not natural to have everything preserved forever. And I'm saying this as somebody with a bit of a hoarding problem. Not a hoarding problem, but, you know, you get what I'm saying. I have a hard time, like, getting rid of things, throwing things away. Like, I always want to, you know, I will never toss something. I always want to donate it. So I think what's going on here with the Bill Walton auction is kind of similar in a way, where it's just like, I just feel like these are kind of just things you don't need to have in your house, and it makes me a little bit uncomfortable to think that somebody's gonna have this in their house. But also, why does it matter to me or at all? Like, we all live under capitalism, so. And yes, Bill Walton made generational wealth doing everything he did, but maybe his family needs the money. Maybe UCLA needs the money. We don't know. But no, it does make me a little bit uncomfortable to think of Bill Walton's driver's license sitting in some dude's basement. And it also makes me a little uncomfortable that this kind of happens, like, every time a celebrity dies. They just have, I mean, it's an estate sale. Estate sales are whatever, you know. I'm not gonna say it just because it's a celebrity. And again, like, thrifting is cool. Estate sales are cool. I don't know. It does remind me of lost media in that way, where it's like, you don't need to have this. Maybe it would be nice to put it in a museum, but like, what's it gonna do in your basement? Then what? Like, what about when you die, you know? I don't know. Interesting. And yes, like with lost media, I do think that things should be preserved, like, to an extent, but I think, like, some random guy having Bob Cousy's letter to Bill Walton is weird. I don't know. It makes you think. A lot of this stuff is pretty cool. There's a Blazers jersey that's going for like 100 something right now. A lot of this stuff is very like accessible. Oh, well, this is a Hardwood Classics. Okay, so this is a replica. But a lot of this stuff is so accessible, and like regular people can buy this stuff, which again feels kind of odd. I don't know how to feel about this whole thing. It's just a very weird kind of like gray area for me, where it's uncomfortable and unnecessary, but also really interesting, and who cares in a way, where it's like, yeah, we all live under capitalism, so of course. What else is on here? Like, this is what I said with like the Deadhead stuff. They love to collect anyway. There's a Jerry Garcia Lithuanian 1992 national basketball team jersey. That's pretty sick, and that's going for like 400 and something right now, because again, Deadheads love to collect. So that's again where I kind of see it here, where it's like, okay, like, this is kind of an act of like not an act of like charity. Well, it is, because, you know, a lot of the proceeds are being donated, but also like, this is really cool exclusive Grateful Dead stuff that was owned by a celebrity that like he's making more accessible to other fans. I don't know. I should get to the relics part of my rant. So I don't know how much you guys know about Catholicism, but number one, I went to Catholic school. Number two, I took an art history study abroad course in Venice a few years ago, and became utterly obsessed with like Catholic lore and like Christianity is folklore, I think I would say. Like, I'm not religious in any way, but I'm kind of obsessed with like Catholic saint reverence, and I find that just so fascinating. And this study abroad trip to Venice did a lot of that for me. So what are relics? Let me get into relics. So relics, I think a first degree relic is like a physical part of a saint's body. So like Saint Anthony's like preserved lower jaw, I think would count as that. Well, it does count because it's a part of his body. There are like some skulls, there's like fingers. It's creepy. It's so creepy. Yeah, first degree relic is a part of a saint's body that is kept and preserved in a church somewhere, and you like pay reverence and respect to it, I guess. Veneration, I think it's called. A second degree relic is like a personal belonging that is attributed to a saint. So like a piece of clothing they wore or a cup they drank out of. So a third class relic is just something that has been touched to a first or second class relic. And I don't know, I feel like these like celebrity auction things are giving like secular relics in a sense. Because why does it make something so much more valuable and meaningful if it was owned by Bill Walton, right? That's number one. Number two, why do you need Bill Walton's driver's license? I know I keep bringing up the driver's license. It's the thing that my friend Brian tagged me in first, and I was like, holy moly, I need to make a video about this. And it's also the thing that I considered bidding on as like a piece of my thesis research, which if you are unaware, I don't know how you're unaware because I talk about it all the time. The thesis for my media, culture, and communications degree is all about myth-making, afterlife, and grief in the NBA. So I think it would be really interesting to just kind of have that. But also, like, that would make me the same as the dudes who just collect this stuff and keep it in their basement, right? I don't know. It's morbid. It's interesting. It's uncomfortable to talk about. But yeah, I don't know. This feels like Relics. This feels like Bill Walton's second-degree Relics. Second and third. Because a lot of these, they're also just like press passes, you know, that he had for like the finals. And another thing that I really wanted to bring up here is that there was something, I was looking at this a few weeks ago. I have to find the exact listing, but it was some broadcasting press pass thing, or like some kind of like sheet, like a reference sheet that Bill Walton had in like the broadcast booth for, it was some finals that Kobe was in. And that just got the gears turning like so fast. Just the fact that something can have value because Bill Walton has touched it and owned it, and has extra value because it is the game in which Kobe Bryant did so and so. I'm gonna find that right now. It's gonna take me a minute, but I'm gonna find that. Hold on. See, this is weird to me too. A poster which was signed by Kareem Abdul-Jabbar to Bill Walton. That's a personal message from one person to another. And therefore, I feel as though there's something weird about auctioning it off, but also it's that relic thing where it's like, this was, you know, touched by Bill Walton, but also Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Interesting. Yeah, there is some stuff that's going for pretty cheap. I showed this to my friend Patrick, who owns a vintage store, and he was like seriously looking at this. And I was like, dude, you should like look into getting some of this. And he's like, who's gonna want to buy that from me? I'm like, yeah, I guess like the value does depreciate a little bit, which is another thing. I don't know. I should like have him on for a segment about this. Sorry for like looking at my phone so much in this video again. I'm just looking at stuff. Where's the Kobe thing? That threw me off so bad. Bill Walton 2022 NBA Finals Celtics shirt. And obviously the Celtics didn't win that, but so interesting that some of this stuff is so recent. I'm still looking for the Kobe thing. So this isn't the thing I was looking for, but another interesting example. 2006 NBA All-Star Game credential, LeBron James MVP. And there's another one. 2007 NBA All-Star credential, Kobe Bryant MVP. So do you want LeBron attached to the relic, or do you want Kobe attached to the relic? Interesting. I don't know. Interesting, guys. This is so fascinating to me. I don't really know who's that big of a Bill Walton fan that they're like bidding on these things like that crazy. Yeah, a lot of the Grateful Dead stuff is actually going for a lot more than a lot of the Bill Walton stuff. Like I said, Deadhead love to collect. I think that's fascinating too. Were people just like waiting on this dude to die so they could buy his Grateful Dead stuff? I don't know. Wow, I can't find this thing I'm looking for, guys, but I promise it exists. I really do promise. There's so many things. There's like 600 items. No, there's 553 items up for grabs, okay? Literally what I was looking for was just this like press credential or like a sheet or something from, was there ever like a Lakers versus Spurs Western Conference Finals? I remember the Spurs being in there somewhere, but I remember Kobe. And it was just a game in which Kobe did something, and like that has value attached to it. And it's like, what about all those other games where nothing important happened? And like, which other players are we gonna see crazy estate sales like this for? I don't know. Just gets you thinking. What else do I have to talk about today? I don't know. I feel like I kind of made my points on how it freaking on how fascinating this topic is, and how like interesting it is. I don't think I've ever seen, maybe I'm just like, you know, I'm not locked in on like the auction and like estate sale circle. I'm sure other athletes have had estate sales like this, but it is kind of fascinating how when a celebrity dies, it's immediately like this auction thing. I've seen it a few times with like musicians and stuff like that, and artists, not so much athletes. But again, I'm not locked in on the auction circle. You know, again, none of this is a good thing or a bad thing. Like, it's not, I mean, it is good. They're, you know, it's going, the money's going to charity, but it's not like a necessarily bad thing that this happens. And also consumerism and just the fact that these items are out there, like, of course somebody's going to want them, and like capitalism and money has to keep flowing, etc. I think it also is kind of a good thing to give away or auction stuff off when you die, because you don't need that in the afterlife, you know, if there is an afterlife, which I believe there is in some sense. Wow, this is getting so philosophical, but it's like, you know, in ancient Egypt, they used to like bury people with all like their gold and like their riches and stuff, but all that stuff just stayed in the pyramid forever. I think about that a lot. I also think about succession a lot with these kinds of things, where it's like Logan Roy built this whole empire of like media stuff and was so wealthy, but like none of that, you die and then what? So I think it's like the same kind of thing here where it's like Bill Walton doesn't need this stuff anymore, so why not give some of the proceeds to UCLA? I don't know, interesting. I do think this is just such a fascinating topic. I could talk about this forever. I should do like a way more fleshed out video at some point. Let me know if you'd want a way more fleshed out video on like NBA player estate sales and auctions and kind of like what happens when a player dies, like a retired player. Not like, because the other thing this got me thinking about was the Drazen Petrovic Museum, which is in Croatia. I've never been there, obviously. I really want to go, but it's basically like this museum that just has a bunch of his old stuff in it. And I know we can't do a museum like that for every NBA player who dies, especially not ones who die after a long and fulfilling life after their career. But I don't know, maybe some like museum in Portland or San Diego or something should have like a Bill Walton section with a lot of this stuff, because the thought of that 1977 Portland Trailblazers championship ring sitting in somebody's basement kind of makes me sick to my stomach. Can't really explain why. The driver's license too. Those are the two that are just rotating in my mind. Or even like the old like ankle braces and stuff. I feel like that would be so interesting to have in some museum to like, demonstrate the evolution of sports medicine. I don't know. I just think, not everything has to be publicly accessible, like I said, with the lost media point, but it would be cool to see some of this stuff in a museum someday, somewhere. Yeah, no, just let me know if you'd want to see a fully fleshed out video on this subject. I would love to talk fully about like NBA player artifacts in museums and stuff that's been up for auction and kind of like what happens to somebody's stuff when they die. Interesting. I feel like I didn't finish my Succession point too. I'm rewatching Succession right now, and I could write an essay. I could write a literal essay on Logan Roy versus Sandy Furness and like how they handled their like legacy, or how they, like legacy management, that kind of thing. I would love to get into some NBA player legacy management. Listen, you know me as a YouTuber and as a writer and as just somebody who talks a lot. I am obsessed with death. So I think in a healthy way. I think about it in a healthy way. But let me know if you'd like to see a full video on that kind of thing. I've been Lisco 2000. This has been the Bill Walton auction video that I've been thinking about since I got tagged in that thing by my friend Brian. This is a list of all of my Patreon subscribers that's going up and down here right now. Hello, Patreon subscribers. If you'd like to join them, it's $1 a month. Yeah, you get lots of goodies. There's like exclusive writing, exclusive video on there. You also get access to a group chat with me and other Lisco heads. What else is there? There's like a few graphics and stuff like that. You also get like exclusive polls and kind of updates on what I'm working on. Very cool. You could also check out my thesis website, ballisafterlife.com. It's exactly what it says on the tin. There's also a free newsletter on there, which you can subscribe to. What else do I have to promote? My socials, as usual, are linked down there. I am Lisco_2000 on basically everything. And on the few things on which I am not Lisco_2000, they're linked below. You can find them. If you're interested in watching more of my stuff, I have a bunch of other videos on my channel. You can also rewatch them. I'm sure they have rewatch value. I've been Lisco2000. Don't forget to always be kind, and I will see you in my next video. Bye-bye.